Yet it's a difference in philosophy over the last few years, and this has been boiling over, I think, to the point of this year, especially when they had a losing record last year. Pete Carroll wants to run the ball. Pete Carroll wants to play conservative offense, conservative team football, and Russell Wilson wants to cook. Russell Wilson wants to be a guy that is throwing the ball down the field and lighting up opposing defenses, and simply put, it was a difference in philosophy overall. Benjamin Albright, the star of Broncos Country tonight, joining me now here on KOA. Hi, Ben.
Co-star. The audience is the real star.
How's the pink suit? Into this a little bit. This deal came together today. It's been in the works for a little while, but today was the official announcement of it. Give us a little bit of timeline.
Well, the Broncos started getting the idea that Aaron Rodgers was going back to Green Bay around the Senior Bowl. And at that point in time, went to 1B, which was Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and that's something you and I had said pretty consistently on Broncos Country tonight. Not to, again, pat ourselves in the back on this, but this is just something that we've been saying. Even when we were out in Indianapolis last week, we continued to say the situation up in Seattle was not a good one. And as many people that tried to paint a kumbaya relationship there, we knew for a fact that was not the case. And so it's weird because it felt like Seattle was really kind of daring Russell to be public about this. They were going to make him the bad guy. They were going to make him request a public trade. What do you think happened there?
Well, yeah, they were going to make Russ be the bad guy, but then the situation kind of became untenable. They were getting offers they kind of had to take, you know. The two teams that were in on this were Washington and Denver. Washington didn't offer nearly enough. Indy and Pittsburgh had both made phone calls. New Orleans made a phone call, but they knew they weren't going to be able to be in the running. And that's what happened. You wound up starting to get offers that you couldn't ignore, offers you couldn't refuse. And you were looking around at your roster and you're saying, well, you know, we could bring Russ back, but he's going to be a malcontent. And this situation is not getting any better. We're not any closer to competing in a division that's getting better. We're at the bottom of the division right now. It's time to retool. And so they did. They squeezed the best offer that they possibly could out of it. I thought they got more than fair compensation back. I'm going to be sad to see Shelby go. I'm not sad to see Drew go in the sense that I'm tired of his fan base talking about him. Hopefully he can resurrect his career there. Same thing with Noah Fant. And, you know, the Broncos get that quarterback they've been missing since Peyton Manning. And I think, like I said, I think everybody's happy.
Yeah, and see, this is the thing. The names were interesting to me, too, because we'd floated out would Seattle be interested in Drew Lock a while ago, right? Because we knew there was reports out there. There was a bit of conversation underneath the surface about Pete Carroll wanting a quarterback there, wanting somebody there to basically run the offense that he's looking for. And we were like, well, I don't know if Drew Lock necessarily fits that. And again, to be honest, now with all the compensation that they got, they could pursue any one of these quarterbacks in the draft if they like one of those. Or, as you said many times, maybe just bring in Teddy Bridgewater, who literally could run the offense that Pete Carroll has always wanted to, and Teddy and Drew Lock get to play for another year. Who knows? But I wondered there about the players that went in this, because we talked about Draymond Jones and Bradley Chubb and Jerry Jeudy. Is there a little bit of happiness or surprise that those guys weren't involved in it?
I think there is. I certainly, from the Broncos side of the house, they didn't have to give up young talent that they were worried about. The talent that they did give up were guys that were either going to need a payday soon, no offense, a quarterback who, you know, the learning curve was still there, was going to be expendable because Russ was here, and then they gave up Shelby Harris. And while Shelby's a fan favorite, a bit of a leader in that locker room, the potential on what they could be bringing back through free agency may dull some of that pain.
Well, now let's talk for just a moment, because it's a different world we live in now. What does free agency look like? And the Von Miller stuff. We're getting a lot of text here on our KOA Sincero text line, 56690. A lot of questions here about Von Miller and about what he was tweeting out yesterday and putting up on Instagram. Does that now become more realistic?
Well, it was realistic when Von was tweeting it out. That was something that they kind of had their eyeball on. They're kind of looking at to see if that was going to be feasible. It's not 100%. That's something that, you know, Von's going to have a robust market. There are teams, and does he really love the Broncos enough to want to come back on the type of deal that the Broncos can offer? I don't think he's going to go back to the Rams at this point, just by virtue of what they're having to do with some re-signings and Aaron Donald and everything else. I just don't think they're going to have the cap or the cash. They don't have the cash, excuse me, they want the cap. So your main competitor right now is the Chargers. The Chargers have plenty of cap and cash. They desperately need edge rushers. And so that I think is going to be the thing. Does Von Miller want to cash in one last time, or does he want to come home? And I think getting Russ Wilson in here signals to Von that this Broncos team is dead set on being competitive. He's going to know Marcus Dixon. He's going to know Ejiro Evero, the defensive coordinator, D-line coach. So, I believe that the Von Miller thing is serious. I don't know that it's a done deal, but I believe that it's serious.
Okay. What about other positions? Let's even talk about Melvin Gordon, who just tweeted out a moment ago about Russell Wilson. And you know that he had been eyeing and been wanting to come back to Denver. Maybe this, again, starts to attract guys to come here on a little bit of a discount because you know Melvin Gordon, they can't pay him $8 million per, but maybe they could have a conversation about 4 or 5 plus incentives.
Yeah,